But if out the gate you're saying that because I believe that Rosa Parks sat on a bus and refused to not give her seat, that I'm woke, I don't understand how you can call me this new derogatory term that you've created when this is just a fact that happened. I don't know where we start here, ma'ams and sirs, and non-binary pals.
All right. How is everybody today?
Wonderful. How are you, honey?
I'm fucking fabulous. The world may not need another podcast, but it definitely could use a slap. That's right. Welcome to Slap the Power, the show that aims to turn artistry into advocacy through the universal power of music, comedy, movies, visual arts, and beyond. I am so effing happy to have my co-host Maiya Sykes on the panel right here for this ride. Aww. You might recognize her as a finalist from The Voice or singing with...
I've been singing with BB Rexa and Billy Idol as of late.
Oh, wow. Never heard of.
Little lesser known folk.
No, killing it. But my girl also got a poli-sci degree from Yale and a fellowship from Oxford. So she ain't playing, y'all. She ain't playing.
And my wonderful co-host is none other than world touring musician and bassist for the band Vintage Trouble and creator of the Slap Podcast Network, Mr. Rick Barrio Dill. Now, we at Slap the Power aim to fuse the unique power of artists talking with their art and their stories together to try to raise awareness on key issues and work together to make meaningful changes in our communities and worldwide.
And because it seems so much of today is both ridiculously important and insanely stupid, all at the same time, we're here to help you keep track of what is what and make sure that we make fun of it all. Because if we can't take the piss out of it, it ain't no good.
Facts.
So
let's do this.
Let's do this right here. Sonics. Love action, progress.
Yeah, let's baby. Slap the power together. Today, we are talking about this state. She a little cray-cray. She a little swampy, but she beautiful. So we can't discount her.
That's right.
We're talking today about Miss Florida.
That's right, Florida, ma'am. Florida, ma'am.
She's really Florida-ing lately.
Yeah, she is Florida-ing. What's happening in one of the largest electoral count states in the union, and why this drugstore-level fascism that's happening in Florida right now is bad news for democracy, how we got here, and what we can do to learn and help each other, because I'm from Florida, and so this is near and dear to my heart. But also from Florida, and joining us in the studio today, to discuss all of this, is a true legend in the dance world, choreographer to the stars.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's right, and she has put the dance in So You Think You Can Dance, bitches. Please welcome one of my favorite humans ever manifested, M-star Miss Marinda Davis.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome to Slap the Power.
So I just wanted to really get the chance to dive into, you do so many wonderful things in this industry, and I wanted to get the chance to dive into your mindset and how this new Florida attack on democracy affects you, because you work with young kids approaching voting age. So what is your insight about where dance and art have a place in this, trans kids are being attacked, there's the whole being woke thing has, got this really weird assignment. What are you personally seeing in your own changes and in your own approaches to young people right now?
Yeah, it's very relevant for me. The age group I mostly work with is 15 and up. So like you said, they're approaching voting age, and they're very affected by all of this. And I work with kids from different parts of the country. So it depends what pocket you're in. But, one of the biggest things I've seen is the level of anxiety in their generation. Almost all of them are medicated.
Jesus.
And it's interesting, when you're a high-level dancer, typically at some point you might homeschool, right? Because dance becomes like a 12-hour thing. And I noticed more and more people were homeschooling, and I would say like, oh, is it because of dance? And they'd literally say to me, No, it's because I'm scared I'm going to get shot at school.
Oh my God.
So just imagine that,
That's just a dagger in my heart. These babies.
It's horrific. It's a horrific reality. So I always try to make a statement with my art. I want people to walk away and question something. I want people to, as important as representation is, it's also equally as important not to recognize yourself on stage or screen, because there's a story and we then empathize with somebody that is different than us, right? So I'm constantly pushing it, and as much as I can. I can't go home with them as their parent and change their minds, but I definitely have a big place in their lives and try to move the needle as much as I can as I know they're approaching that age.
I understand. We are in California. You and I moved here, and it was just like fish to water.
Yeah.
Right? It was just like, this is my favorite city on planet Earth. It is a different thing. In so many ways, we are the most liberal, and it feels the most worldly. The thing that's concerning me is I think the woke thing that's going on, this attack against woke and everything, blankets us as another. But
that's why it was designed.
Yeah.
Right? That's why it was designed. All of these things are tools.
Yep.
All of these things are tools to dissuade natural dissension.
Yep.
If you can get people to abdicate control over what they have access to and the knowledge to which they have access, then you can get them to abdicate control over their person. And people are so scared of what they don't understand, they're easily manipulated. And that's been the way there. And it's working. The reason why we have to pay attention is it's not just in Florida. It's now in North and South Carolina. It's in Mississippi. It's in Arkansas. So those things spread like wildfire, especially to areas that feel like their way of life is being threatened. We aren't saying we're threatening your way of life. We are saying we're asking you to accept these people as well, because this is their way of life. Their response to this is, no, you don't get a way of life. But what I don't get is, it's not like you're going to make these people go away.
Right.
That's the part where I'm just like,
gotta acknowledge their existence.
If we want a multicultural, multi-racial democracy, then we should be able to start there. Because somehow being for government, it became being, anti the other side, or anti the things that all of us or most of us want. We want you would want our kids to be able to go to school safely. Would want the freedom to be able to control my own body if I was a woman, if I was younger. But nonetheless, it scares the crap out of me just as a man on behalf of those people. And it feels like this is something that is an issue that we had moved past on. 80% of the country, I think, even 60% of Republicans are for a fairly decent woman's right to choose, and a fairly decent sort of middle landing ground, if you want to call it 16 weeks, or kind of where we sat on for the last 50 years.
But why are those Republicans not making more of a vocal push? It seems like they're willing to, dissent privately, but not publicly. And, to the detriment of their party. So if you're especially looking at some of these new Trump trials, where you're seeing whole dozens of people say, the man has defamed me, he's done this against me, but I'd still vote for him for the next election, then what am I supposed to do with that, especially when you're the platform of ethics and such?
Again, it's power. Power has sort of trumped ethics.
And it's also trumped political discourse, because it used to be that you could have a conversation of civility with a person who had opposing views from you, and you could find some kind of common resolution. But if out the gate you're saying that because I believe that Rosa Parks sat on a bus and refused to not give her seat, that I'm woke, I don't understand how you can call me this new derogatory term that you've created when this is just a fact that happened. I don't know where we start here, ma'ams and sirs, and non-binary pals.
If we do not believe in science, where's the middle ground?
If we do not believe in historical fact, where are we starting, ma'ams and sirs, and non-binary pals? I don't know.
I have a theory that when Kellyanne Conway went on television and said alternative facts, that was almost the casket closing on. We're already in our own algorithmic silos.
To say,
right. That we didn't.
Nobody
there's no such thing
her.
as alternative facts. I mean, I understand that people say, okay, well, something was one way and now it is not. Okay, that doesn't. You learn things. That was the interesting thing. None of us had been through a pandemic together, and we all had to go through it together. And there's science, and it has a percentage that it is, but somehow the 1% of the science deniers had enough of a voice with, AM radio, disinformation, as long as it could coerce the power that was needed from that 1% quest, then it seemed that it was successful. Because if you can sway enough with the 1% of disinformation, the truth, it takes a long time to make itself way around the world, but a lie is heard instantly.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I feel like we're at. Like you said, where do you go when one side wants to destroy a kind of way of life that has been there in the name of feeling threatened on their way of life?
Yes, right.
To the extent that they also want to deny its existence.
Yeah. Let's do this. Here's what we know so far, and just so we can start off the bat with this. Florida's 2023 legislative session is only halfway done, and some of the legislation passed is seriously disturbing. As the governor gears up for an expected presidential run, things are about to get uglier. Here's what's happened under his watch so far. A bill that allows people to carry concealed guns without a permit and proper training.
A bill that makes it harder and more expensive to sue insurance companies and businesses. And that was a big one because they basically allowed insurance lobbyists to just sneak that bill right on through.
How about a law to ban abortion at 6 weeks of pregnancy, not presidency?
That's another big one because that law has no exceptions or exemptions. So it is condemning women with ectopic pregnancies or who have been raped or victim of incest to not have advocacy, because if you go through some programs, and I can speak to this from firsthand experience, you have to wait a 2 to 3 week period to be signed up for their Medicare programs to get some of these services. If it now takes that long, but you don't find out until you're at the 4 to 5 week, you don't have the... So basically what this bill does is it only makes abortion accessible to the very, very wealthy. Yeah. And that's by design. But it's hilarious because it's going to backfire. I really believe that they think that this will make more white people, but the people who this will disenfranchise the most are people of color. So really you're just making more people of color. Their next thing is really interesting too. They made a bill banning classroom instructions about sexual orientation, gender identity in all grades, a felony to provide gender-affirming health care to transgendered minors, and a bill that has made it legislatively possible for people to deny trans people care due to their religious affiliation. And the reason why that's problematic is because in 2012, there was an incident in which a transgendered woman who was born a man went into diabetic shock, and when the EMS responders arrived, they found the victim to be transgendered and they failed to render services. So if this is allowed to happen, in this case it was the NYPD, but if this is allowed to happen as a state initiative, you can see how this could be problematic overall in a statewide initiative, because you could then train people to then say, I will not provide care because of my religious affiliation. So then you have to, as a trans person, say, hey, I'm trans, can you send the person who doesn't have a religious affiliation against me, but be able to say that in a moment of duress when you need urgent care. That's statistically impossible. So it's just things like this that send a quagmire into what should be a protected idiom, especially given the Hippocratic Oath is save a life. There should be no religious exemptions at all, and yet this ban now makes that possible.
I feel
this
like
must scare the crap out of you as a person who educates kids.
It does.
It's funny because you also talked about gender reassignment surgery and things like that. All I know is from what I've seen from afar that it's grossly overblown. Like it is just, it's like an anecdotal thing that's then used to scare parents, suburban moms and things like that into voting for this man that then does these things. And I'm interested, are you finding that a lot of the parents, because I actually heard this yesterday, somebody said they're moving to Florida so that they don't have to deal with a teacher telling their child that they're going to be a different sex. And I was like, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. That's anecdotal. I can't claim to speak for someone's story or walk in their shoes, but these are anecdotal things that are being used to manipulate power on a massive, millions of people level.
Sure.
And do you find that for yourself, the parents does that sort of seep over into it? We can't make gun regulations and things like that. Do you find that it's getting easier with more vocal kids or harder?
It's interesting because obviously artists are usually others. So I obviously see a lot of gender fluidity. And the kids, they are the most woke. You know what I mean? We go around in a circle before every class and say our pronouns. You know what I mean? And just make sure everybody feels accepted. And it's hard because I don't know what they're going home to. You know what I mean? And it's worrisome, but the majority of kids accept other kids for who they are, and
they recognize that their rights are getting stripped from them. I mean,
absolutely.
Especially,
they're very aware.
Yeah.
And how are they responding to, especially the new legislation that's been blocking diversity in public colleges and federal things? I know as a person who went to school, I relied a lot on that kind of funding to receive higher education. So how are those kids navigating through this new blockage and new lack of access?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think so many artists since the pandemic have stopped going to college.
Fair.
Because a lot of them, their first 2 years were in masks in a dorm room taking
or
class,
on Zoom.
Right, on Zoom.
I didn't even think about that.
But yeah, it's interesting. It feels, college feels further away than ever for them.
Okay.
So I don't know if I can speak to that specifically just because so many are making other choices now.
I get that.
Yeah.
And I also forget that we have an entire generation of kids that didn't get any of the regular milestones that most kids get, like a prom, school
It's
dances,
huge. Yeah, sure.
school class projects, things like this. They didn't have any of those things, grad night.
Yeah.
They didn't have any of those things. And there's an entire generation, not just one but like 3 high school years that didn't have. So that's an entire generation of students that didn't have any of those things. And I'm just wondering, given this lack of resource, missing time, and this new Gestapo thing, how is that affecting their anxiety?
Yeah, it's every kid in this generation, if they're 18, they're 16, and that's how I deal with them. If they're 8, they're actually 6. Like, it has been an at least 2-year regression.
Wow.
Because you're missing socialization.
Yeah.
More so than the education. You're
and
missing
that's so
socialization, and you're missing those milestones, which are huge events in life.
They're huge.
So
learning to drive.
Yeah.
Another thing that's going on right now that has actually just passed that I want to talk about is there's a bill that bans people from entering bathrooms other than their sex assigned at birth, and it requires bathrooms to be listed as men, women, or unisex. I think that is something that is on the table. You can talk about that, because you could make these kind of Tucker Carlson kind of straw man arguments about some perv went into the wrong bathroom and things like that. But the encroachment upon kids that are confused, and if you're not giving them the ability to work out their confusion, and you can't talk about it up to age 12, and then they can't deal with a bathroom that is based on the way that they are feeling or are identifying as, I don't understand how that is tenable.
It's an affront to science as well, because there's enough statistical data that shows that pedophiles and people who are considered perverts, 99.9% of them are not homosexual or transgendered.
Yeah.
And there is
Facts.
a whole lot of data that supports that.
Yeah.
So
that's why we live in West Hollywood.
If you want to at me, go ahead. I will give you the data to back up what I'm saying, because it's a long list of it. Just because you found one source on YouTube that counteracts what I'm saying, when there's like 20 different doctors from about 17 different universities that say what I'm saying factually, don't at me. I'm just letting you know no, I'm not the one today.
Not the one.
And because of that, I don't understand how the reason why I know these policies are being made is because first, to get them to work, they debunk science.
There's a bill that bans children from drag shows and revokes the food and beverage license of businesses that admit children to these performances. Now, I want to say something about what I would like to know what defines a child in this bill, but I mean, some of the greatest times I ever had was being 16 at drag shows. So I don't understand.
What defines drag?
Yeah.
There are characters that do drag in Disney shows, and there's a Disney World right there, and
Mrs.
that's part
Doubtfire.
Oh, word.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Word.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
So just made a Broadway show about it.
Okay,
yeah.
so that can't come to Florida. So Mrs. Doubtfire can't tour in Florida. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. I know there's a scene in Aladdin where the genie dresses up as like a girl character, whatever, and they do
Robin
that.
Williams.
And they do that in the live action show.
Yep.
So now you're gonna say that you're gonna take out. This is just dumb.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's like. People might say, okay, well, this is Florida, especially we have people that listen to us from all over the world. If this is Florida, why should I care? And it's one of those things.
It's a virus.
It's a virus with a hefty electoral count in determining the complete and total power levers on ostensibly a complete government that is that is 6-3 conservative Supreme Court for the rest of our lifetimes, likelihood, right? That is also. You have a House that it's a narrow lead on the right, but it is one of those that its only job on the right is to really gunk up government. All they want to really do is stop government from working from the inside, which means rights like these go by the wayside, because you don't have the levers in power to control it. And if Florida controls the Electoral College in 18 months, we're all looking at a completely different country. One of the things we have here is consider the impact of his agenda on the state of Florida so far. Parents and families are selling their homes and moving because of school censorship, book bans, and healthcare restrictions that have made their home state, less safe for children.
And they basically bankrupt with this new ban of not being able to give funding to for diversification in universities. That is crippling the HSB, the historically black colleges there, because, of which there are a few. And if now you're diverting their funds, you're effectively cutting off their source supply. So you're making it so that people now who already had very limited choice, have now none.
I think I've heard arguments on both sides where he's gaining strength with this sort of Christian nationalist dog whistle, right? Which it does not allow for what I think I'm aware of the Bible, of what I've read of the Bible.
We read a different Bible.
We're reading a different one.
We read a different
I think we were
one.
talking off air. The only King James that it seems to represent is the guy that plays for the Lakers. But I am interested in, if you look at the numbers, I think most people are starting to figure out, oh wow, we don't like this. We don't like this guy, doing these things. We don't like some of these things going too far.
But it's interesting too, though, because you see one presentation. Like I was trying to do my research about this, and I would watch, some clips from MSNBC, CNN, C-SPAN, a couple of others, and they would say that there are a whole lot of pockets in Florida. They're like, yeah, we're really against DeSantis. But then you'd watch a couple of other CNN and Fox clips, and they'd be like, no, these counties are like, no, we are about this. Yeah. They got, no woke dies here banners in their bars and the restaurants and whatnot. So I'm like, who do we believe?
Yeah, there's a discussion to be had about everything from security to fear of if you come from a country like Cuba or Venezuela or something and you hear the word socialism and whatever your opinion is on that sways you to the one team or the other in this country, because it seems like you have to be that way. And this is why, again, this episode was so interesting, is because I do think there's a lot of things that we agree on, but at the end of the day, most of this stuff is not a good faith argument. This is not. It's kind of for cruelty's sake to push that power lever and keep pushing that power lever. And I question right now, much like in 2000, when basically the Bushes willed their way into an electoral win in Florida, which then tipped the balance of the presidential election. That's why we're trying to spotlight this right now, is because I think it's going to once again come down to the kids. It's going to come down to registering the kids to vote. It's going to come down to increasing awareness about these laws that are coming online or that are already online if they're not aware about it. And really just, it's kind of a lot of us saying, going to the kids and saying, you're going to have to help us, please.
No, but I think we need to stop doing it to these children. Stop being like, okay, we fucked up. Y'all got
but I mean.
But how do we empower these kids so that we're not saying take our mess? I feel like that's a question we need to be asking.
Yeah.
I think it's by empowering them and telling them that they can make a difference.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I am at home a lot and just thinking, I don't know what else to do. I think a lot of people feel like their hands are tied, but I think kids, when you tell them their vote actually matters, that they can change that.
Do you think there's a responsibility? Because in the case of Disney, I find that, when the whole Bud Light thing went on with Kid Rock and shooting the Bud Light and everything like that, I saw some billboards that's called the right that was mad at that commercial Snowflakes, which I thought was awesome. If Bud Light really did that, was I don't like necessarily the taunting back and forth and things like that, but in some way, Bud Light is kind of like, from a money standpoint, it makes way more sense to be inclusive. Right, it's bad business to be
honestly,
white Christian
nationalists.
nationalists.
They had gone and gotten a bunch of kids and said, holla at the. That's what I would have done.
I think they did in the comments, though. I think a bunch of kids jumped on Anheuser-Busch and was like, fuck your beer.
Kid Rock, when was the last time you hit that song?
Yeah.
Are you relevant?
And don't you shoot Bud Light in your backyard
anyway?
I just thought that was a Tuesday for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you also are a little redneck dude who got famous off a black idiom. So
yeah. Respect. I mean, it's interesting because again, the cultural appropriation, everything like that. I'm here for that discussion. I think it's great.
But my thing is, if you're gonna be a cultural appropriator, stay in your damn lane. Don't switch up because you're like, oh, well, that didn't work, and the black people don't mess with me no more, so let me be conservative and sing with a country twang, so now white people like me. Nah, you came from the gutter with a black lady with dreads playing your drums and bitches dancing in cages. Stay in your damn lane, sir.
Yeah. I love when a company is going to flex. If that was a Bud Light flex back, I'm here for that kind of stuff. I love it. But how much do you think that the art actually should lean in harder, like Disney World or Hollywood? Here we try to make diverse films. We try to do a lot of things. That's what's so great about California is it is so multicultural, multiracial. It's just a beautiful thing. It's full of all of its problems. It's got mad problems and things, but we are definitely planet Earth here, and I think so the art that comes out of here in a lot of ways represents that. But in the dance world or in other areas, do you think we should actually lean in harder?
Always. As an example, we had the first gay couple on World of Dance, right?
It was dope.
Thank you.
That was yours.
Yeah.
That was yours.
And we had to fight for every piece of it. The kiss that happened was the biggest meeting,
wow.
The longest meeting, the longest fight ever. And I'm very thankful that NBC ended up airing it, but it was a fight.
Yeah.
But I saw a direct reflection. I can't even tell you how many hundreds of thousands of emails and letters, some of them hate mail, but that's so many of a 15-year-old kid in their room and, Alabama, and this is the first time I've seen what I think I am on TV, or this is the first time I've seen any representation of that, and it made them feel okay. So yes, I say always lean in. It's always gonna do good.
Amen. I mean, I hope that we get to feel more. I mean, we feel it here because again, we're kind of planet Earth, but I hope we feel it more in some of the more super deep red states, because some of the anecdotes on the bad things that are the results of all these sort of heinous bills that have been going on since Roe versus Wade fell, since the Republican state elections where they did win in the midterms. It almost seems like it was pulling back Roe versus Wade and having the sort of blessing of the Supreme Court gave all these state legislatures a green light to just stiff arm these super draconian policies and things that are and should scare the crap out of all of us. So I hope we see more art coming out of that, or coming out of places where I guess this would be, if I was somebody right now and I was frustrated by my state's government, I definitely would be either trying to figure out, I would definitely trying to get my friends and be like, look, because it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us banding together to stop this train. It's already out of the station.
And Florida's a beautiful place. It deserves that opportunity. It's got,
it is
some of the best marshland country. It's a beautiful, beautiful area.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like the conservatives make it bad either. I feel like they're being gaslit.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is what we want to talk about. It's like we have a lot more things that I think we're together on. We're being made to believe that we are either Hatfield or McCoy. It's
also,
not that.
Because if you're allowing this bubble to exist where your kid never has to learn about, I don't know, civil rights or gay people or whatever, then that means that they only going to live in that county. Like, how they going to go out into the world? Because in the world, these things exist, ma'am, sirs, and non-binary pals. So, how are you preparing your child to live if all you're saying is just live in the house? You're stunting the growth of these people by telling them, no, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure these people are eradicated, I guess, but that's impossible. So I don't understand its merit.
Right.
It feels like you don't know where these laws are going to stop because it just keeps encroaching. The only place it can stop is, for example, full and total ban on a woman being able to have an abortion, even in cases of rape or incest, because that is much of the stated position of the super far right. Friends and family I know that have stated that's their number one only issue that they care about, and I get it. We can have a conversation about that.
I wonder why, though.
I mean,
strictly religious reasons?
Again, you can't. It's the chicken and egg argument, and it goes around where if you believe in life, but then not life once it's born, to me, it's not a good faith argument. It breaks down.
I usually have conversations with people like that because I'm like, I just really want to have a realistic understanding of what your position is.
Yeah.
Because your position is I should be dead.
Yeah.
So I would like you to tell me why I should be dead according to you.
Fair.
Because I suffered from an ectopic pregnancy. I had to have an abortion to survive said ectopic pregnancy, and under this new law, I die. So why do you think that I'm allowed to die? Please tell me.
I
bring tears.
very much relate to what you're saying, and thank you for being open enough to share that. I relate to it in a lot of ways. I'm adopted, and I get thrown the phrase all the time, well, you could have been aborted. And I'm like, yeah, I'd find my way here eventually.
Yes, I know,
but
you would.
The other thing is, like, I'm not really interested, if we're not going to protect the people that are here, why are we so worried about, protecting the people that aren't here until there's emotional and financial support in the adoption triad of for the adoptee, for the birth family, for the adoption family? Like it's not interchangeable. It's not a substitute. And that doesn't negate the pregnancy. There's still the burden of the pregnancy. There's risk.
Sure.
I have a genetic disease, and I could potentially carry a baby, but it would kill me. And so, again, it's like, you're okay. You're pro-life.
And you decided that I should die.
Yeah.
Because my technicality doesn't fit your doctrine. So please explain to me why that is. And usually they just sit there and go, what?
And I was like, no, because it's not a good faith argument.
But you're so adamant about it. And you're changing laws about it. And this is never coming to your purview. So I'm going to interrupt your purview. I have had one ectopic pregnancy, and I have had one pregnancy that I couldn't carry to term because it had an ovarian cyst. I had to have 2 different abortions. In both cases, I wanted to keep my child. I was not given the option. And so the abortions that I received saved my fertility so that I may have a child in the future. Why are you telling me I don't have that option? Why are you telling me that I should go to hell for saving my life and wanting to bring a child into the world, but just being denied that right because of my body? Why are you saying that to me? And why do you feel that you get the right to say that to me? Tell me to my face why I'm supposed to die, sir. And it's usually sir.
Oh,
sure.
Usually is.
For us, touring through the South has become problematic, especially during the Trump years we have a black lead singer. I don't know how it kind of slipped into this almost sort of permission to kind of push back on this, but like to have now you don't even need anything to carry a gun in Florida. You don't need a permit. I don't even think you need a driver's license. You can at me in the comments and shit, but I think you just need a pulse.
And that's
and
why
you can
people
carry
are
a
fleeing.
weapon.
People are fleeing, and artists are saying, yeah, like
Right.
on our, major artists like Florida, we might skip it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
400 million guns, and you're allowed to carry.
Maybe y'all should drive to Atlanta.
Yeah.
We'll skip that.
Yeah. Meet us at the Claremont. Shout out.
Listen,
Claremont.
you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's sad because there are a whole bunch of people in Florida who are like, yeah, we with y'all. We don't get it either.
Yeah.
So then you're making these people suffer because, a few anti-wokes are, woke, but I feel like that's their own version of woke. I was like, I feel like you're woke yourself. It's just a different title. So I feel like we should demonize their version of woke and call it a term.
Well, it's
Let's get on that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, you're fake blessed or whatever. Because that's really what it is to me. Oh, you got the faux blessing. Oh, you got the faux blessing. I see you.
You in with God.
Yeah.
The Lord. You in with JC.
You got the bracelets and everything.
I don't. If it is in with the Lord, then again we're gonna have to get on. We're gonna have to get on the same page. We're gonna have to get on the same page.
Because I was reading what the Lord said, and the Lord didn't do none of that stuff.
No,
the Lord stood with the meek and the outcast.
Love the neighbor.
Love thy neighbor. That's what we're here to do. And
turn the other cheek evens.
A lot of the things that we talk about, like we say, they are ridiculously important and insanely stupid all at the same time. So one of the things that we're trying to do is also make this where, like we said, we can take the piss out of it, and we make it to where it's also a little fun too, because somehow relationships and just living your life does inevitably spill over into all these sort of societal issues and these policy issues, which is politics and politricks and everything. But one of the tricks we're going to do, shout out to one of the show sponsors, which is the Roll With It or Bounce. Hey, but Roll With It or Bounce. Check it though.
Theme song.
Yeah, exactly. So before we go, we like to close out all of our shows with something we call a sonic boom. That's right. A way we can go and leave something with you where you can implement small and actionable items to hopefully help you or someone you love in life make a difference, even if in the smallest of ways.
And today we are offering up a checklist on this wonderful Floridian subject. We want to let you know ways that you can be of action and where you can slap the situation.
If what you heard today was like, it was anything that interests you, if you're like, man, that's messed up. How can I save democracy for planet Earth? This is what the Sonic Boom
can do.
This is what we can do.
So here's some ways you can get involved. One, you can support Equality Florida. That's an organization advocating for equality across the state with a focus on fighting back against DeSantis and allies' slate of hate. So if you can't donate, they're always looking for volunteers. So if you're in the state of Florida, especially if you're a young person and you're like, I ain't got money like that, but I want to do something or want to be in that number, they do have some wonderful rallies that are coming up. They have a rally coming up at the Capitol to raise awareness and fight against attempts to take away people's freedoms and infringe upon their rights. So if none of that's appealing to you, that's cool. But we do want you to have your own awareness so you can do something of a personal nature and fill out a speaker request form, and they'll arrange for a speaker to discuss the topics that are near and dear to your heart with your audience.
One of the primary causes that we've sort of built the show around is Vote Save America. Go to votesaveamerica.com, and they are probably the best source of information and initiatives to help you get involved and get out the vote, because that is ultimately what all this comes down to. It's just the vote is going to be what's going to save us. It's not going to get saved at state legislature level. It's not going to get saved in anything but the vote. So go to votesaveamerica.com, get involved and engaged in what VSA is all about, which is basically it's a key to saving democracy in places like Florida. So again, we know that donating isn't always an option, and so there are tons of other things that you can do. You can start by signing up there for their newsletter to keep you in the loop on the most important things to know and how to get involved. You can also volunteer volunteer and attend key campaigns and parties, even if virtually, which is has been amazingly powerful over the last 3 election cycles. So by joining their community there, votesaveamerica.com, you also gain access to training, resources, networking that's going to empower you to take action and get others to listen and act. And I tell you, when I say this, it literally, you go to votesaveamerica.com, it's like one click and you have everything you need to know to how to help. So that's great.
You can also do grassroots types of things. You can support other organizations, advocacy groups, and you can do small things that appeal to just your circle of friends. Like if you know a certain issue is very nuanced, you could do a TikTok on it if you know how to explain it and circle that just amongst your group of friends to help them understand some of these issues better. There's a whole lot of ways that we can participate, and we have to look at not just the ancillary things that are available, but the ways that we can disrupt the consciousness using the same tactics, but using them in a we go high when they go low kind of way, because that's the overall arching method here.
Amen.
We're not saying that in order to exist, we need to eradicate you. Right? We're saying that we exist, include us. That's what you're going to have to do. So figure out your tolerance, because we've had to tolerate you for a millennia, and we done.
We're done. Come on, Michelle.
And real quick, what are you promoting anything? What are you working on? What's your big project you're working on right now?
My big project right now is I have an intensive that's for dancers 15 through 25. So,
and how can people find ways to participate in your intensive?
Yeah, they can go to my Instagram, which will lead you to the Storytellers Intensive Instagram.
That's Marinda Davis, at Marinda Davis. Thank you.
The plug.
That's the IG, Marinda Davis.
And we do a lot more than dance. We sit in a circle a lot and journal and reflect and get to the issues that we're talking about.
So it also sounds like there's some life coaching.
There's a lot of life coaching.
I love that.
Yeah.
But, in lieu of kids not having access to things like guidance, counselors, like services like these are really, really important.
They are. I would not be alive without my mentors, so I know the importance.
Well, thank you for taking that energy and helping an entire new generation. That's really commendable.
Amen. Amen.
It's an honor to do it.
Amen. All right, well, that's our show. Thanks for listening to Slap the Power, and special mad love and thanks to Marinda Davis, our guest host today, too.
Thanks for having me.
We can't forget our sponsors, Roll With It or Bounce. That was such a little fun game. So if you're looking for a great party game that will appease a whole bunch of people, don't forget this wonderful card game that's on the low.
That's right.
The low.
The low.
You know what I'm saying? Like all these other things are digitized and cost millions of dollars. Like this is on the low. Like you could get this.
That's right. We'll put their link in the show notes as well. And
Roll With It or Bounce.
Roll With It or Bounce. Which way? It's actually a cool game. Join us every week when we chop up real issues from a local and global perspective and cross with how as artists we can make a difference by branding together in small but massive ways.
And you can add us on your socials. On IG, we're at _slapthepower. And make sure that you sign up for free at slapthepower.com so we can make sure that you never miss out on every new thing that we're doing. We have a lot of new sponsorships that are giving us some cool doodads, and we might throw one your way.
Yep.
And if you like what you heard on this show, please be sure to write a review, like, and subscribe, because community is based on the word of other people in the community.
Amen. And we do these shows, and the only thing we ask, a little gentleman's agreement, the only thing we ask is, just give us some love, and tell your friends about it and things like that. But as always, if you want to know how you can affect change yourself in issues that really matter to so many, again, make sure to go to votesaveamerica.com, and you can get there through our site, slapthepower.com. Now go slap some love into the day.
Hey, you.
Yeah. See you next show.
Bye.
Bye.
Slap the Power is written and produced by Rick Barrio Dill and Maiya Sykes. Executive producer Duff Ferguson. Our senior producer is Sabrina Seward. Associate producer Bree Corey. Audio and visual engineering and studio facilities provided by Slap Studios LA, with distribution through our collective home for social progress in art, Slap the Network. If you have any ideas for a show you want to hear or see, or if you would like to be a guest artist on our show, please email us at info@slapthepower.com.